Here we go. Now are we on the porch?
Let's see if the second time works.
If the first time doesn't go, that's the second time on the porch. Love it.
Yep, we're there. So let's just check the volume real quick and see if we're there.
Oh, I can hear
That's good. So
that sounds good.
okay. So 1 night of 18, and hello, Gail. Your sister's already on.
All right, buddy. El Paso is represented. That is good. El Paso, Mexico, I call it.
So we're
That's not Texas, man. That's Mexico. That bridge, they just open that door and say, "Come on in."
Eric. We already mentioned we're kind of thawing out here in the southeast.
Oh, thank God for warmer weather.
If I
Thank God for warmer weather. I am sick and tired of cold weather.
Yeah, if I heard right, it has either been the longest extended spell cold, but I can't. That can't be right because I remember other cold spells we've had here, and
all I can say is this was one of them. And I didn't like the old ones. Didn't like the new ones. Don't like them. You know, if I wanted cold, I'd move back up north. Yuck. No, I don't want to. No, I'm good. I'm good for it to be warm. Now, when I lived in Florida for a while, I did not like that constant warmth. Now that's, it seemed to never get cold at all. And I found myself, having the same season all through the year was not pleasurable. So that's the one thing I like about South Carolina. You get usually all 4 seasons, spring, summer, spring and fall. I like that. I like that a lot.
And that's the neat thing about weather. You always have something to talk about. If you have nothing else in life to talk
about.
We're
going to talk about the weather. Oh, boy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hopefully some of the group was able to see you on Channel 7 last week. Again, picking
Good
up
times.
the theme of Visionary.
Good time. Jack Roper and Jamarcus were the hosts, and it just flew by. I guarantee you. I always talk about that television time is interesting time because it's regular time, but it seems like once you put a camera in the mix, time flies. You just sit down, you clear your throat a couple of times. They look up and say, "Well, that's the segment." You're like, "What?" Yeah. Wow. So, and I've been very blessed. I've always loved television, being on television, doing television. So
I'm just going to, in fact, as we try this, I'm going to see. No, that doesn't work that way. So see if that helps a little bit.
That gives us a little bit more definition.
Give us, do our own production work here.
Rick's doing production work while Roger's rolling on about television. There we go. There's our lives right here in South Carolina. So, Rick, what are we running on to today on the porch?
Well, I thought possibly today would be a good day to talk about, or really kind of continue the discussion for 2018. We started off talking about the concept of being a visionary. And, that was kind of the theme last week that you were able to work through because you said tomorrow is when Peggy Denny will broadcast your...
Yeah, at 1 o'clock tomorrow on Channel 16 here in Greenville. I'll be on the Peggy Denny Show. So talking about the being a visionary, which I highly believe. I mean, I really sense that one of the things that bothers me is people kind of going from a place of, oops, how did I get here? Oops, what happened? They're kind of letting life happen to them instead of them happening to life. And I'm kind of encouraging that second idea. I think that when you are intentional, when you sit down, write down, think out, and without a doubt, I wholly believe in the concept of teamwork in a marriage. I think that if a marriage gets together in this time of year with the intention of going after a goal as a couple, wow, I mean, the first thing I think of is get out of the way because stuff's going to happen. And sometimes it's beyond logic. I'd like to say, well, logically, this happened, but it's not like that. It's like when people, sit down and say, we as a couple have this vision, not for the world. We have an intention for our marriage. We have an intention, if we have children, for our parenting. Wow, literally magical things happen. It is an amazing time. So again, I'm behind this idea 100%, and I'm really telling you straight up, you're missing something if you let life go by and, well, kind of like a surfer out there on the ocean. Well, when the wave comes up, I'll catch the wave and I'll float down on the wave. No. It's more like I'm in the middle of the country and I've got a map. Am I going to read the map and follow the map, or am I going to ignore the map? And too many people, you and I see, Rick, are just lost. Mm-hmm. They're just lost, and it's very sad. Nothing sadder than to be around really incredible people who are lost. You just watch it; they just seem to be oozing potential, but they're just chasing their tail like a dog. It's very scary, and I hate that.
So as we put the puzzle together, we're working on the concept, the idea of promoting and challenging people to be more of a visionary in 2018. The visionary is, again, the person who will set the goals, write the goals down, which we spend a lot of time on. And as you shared, the statistics are out there. Those who write goals down are much more successful in the accomplishment of the goals, the non-written goals, and also accomplishes greater things with it. But that is part of the concept of intentionality, is even something as simple as writing down goals. But if you're not intentional on something as simple as that, then should you have an expectation of being intentional about anything else? I'd say no. So intentionality is also discipline.
Yes. And Rick, one of the things that concerns me is that when people come together, either as a couple, as a group, or whatever, that all they're doing is lip service. They're really not strategically planning. They're just white noise, and they're kind of passing the time. They're kind of looking at the watch and saying, well, is the meeting over? Is this over? Okay, honey, if you want me to sit down and listen, we just through it. And then we wonder why at the end of the year, we're as lost as we were in the first of the year.
Yeah.
But then I tell you, that's an exciting time, Rick, is I have been in places where I've been in a meeting where it had the person who led it knew where they were going. They weren't just talking the talk. They were walking the walk. They were going, and they knew what they wanted out of the meeting. And you could just walk in the room and feel the difference. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to be around people that have a clue. And I think there's probably one of the beautiful things that can happen in therapy is that sometimes a couple can come in and they're lost. They have a lot of potential, but they're just lost. And for them to stand up and say, we want to move forward, but we're lost, and they're willing to listen to the views of a third party, great things happen. Great accomplishments are made from that. And you can, and I know you as a therapist have seen this, feel it in the air. You can feel it in the air. This couple means business. This time is significant. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that in therapy. I've seen that in churches. I've seen that in conference meetings. Both. I've seen a waste of the moment and great accomplishment in the moment. And some people are very gifted at running a meeting and intentionality, and some people stink. They stink at intentionality. Really what they're about is I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to get my way. I'm going to do it my way. My way is the right way, and they will not hear of any other idea. That they're just going to ramrod the thing through. And that's a terrible moment too, to just sit there and be hammered over the head, whether again that's a couple or that's a church meeting or a business meeting or whatever, of just being pummeled on the head over somebody's belief in I'm right, I've got the right idea, I know where things are going. Well, my first thought is step out of the way, because these people are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not a pretty sight. And I've seen many a person in a couple beat the other one over the head with their belief that they're right. Oh my goodness, that's a scary moment. I'm right. I was raised by perfect people. I have a perfect life. I know where this marriage is going. I know where this family's going. Woo-wee, man. That is such a subtle form of abuse. It's missed by so many people. Now, they interpret that, Rick, as, well, that person must really care. That person must really be invested. No, that person is abusing you and has no concept of team. That I can't emphasize that word enough. The power of team is incredible when that's worked out. But it's hard. Some people were raised to integrate well with a team, mm-hmm. and some people couldn't find team in a well-lit room. And that's a difficulty there, is getting everybody, and that's one of the hard things, Rick, is one of the ideas of, I can say team, and not have a clue what team is.
Right. And we have to understand this, even going back to the biblical concept of 2 and 3 are stronger. People have heard that saying, I have your back, but do they really know what that means? It's actually a biblical concept, because it teaches us that, when you're by yourself, you're vulnerable to everything, and you don't know which way the attack is going to come and where the destruction is going to be. But when you now have another person with you, the way you protect each other is you go back to back, and you are scanning and having an idea as to where the fight has to be. And of course, then it goes on and talks about the 3 people or more creates a larger bond. But teamwork only requires one additional person in your life, and that's someone who has your back and you have their back, where you are standing back and back and both watching the horizon for.
Yeah, I when you say that, it brings into memory the idea of mules in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And what you find out is when mules are attacked in the desert, they put their heads together and kick outwardly, mm-hmm. and so they handle all predators. But if they get confused, they put their head toward the predator, focus on the predator, and they kick the other members to death. And the flock of mules do not survive. So it's how problems are going to come. Problems are going to come in your marriage. Problems are going to come in the job. Problems are going to come in the church. Problems are going to come. But it's how you operate within the problem that really makes the difference.
Right. So
it really takes a lot of, and I love your word, intentionality. There have to be a real intention.
And again, I like that idea, because how many relational issues do you see where the 2 people in the relationship are doing just that? They're kicking each other and destroying each other versus having their backs and kicking the enemy.
It's fascinating how people are attracted to the most dangerous people, mm-hmm. for them. Not maybe the most dangerous people in the world, but it's fascinating how people look for somebody and are passionate about somebody, but given time, that person is the worst thing for them, you know, because they can't, they choose up sides, like you said, and kick each other to death. Man, doesn't that sound like so many marriages out there? Man, I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people kicking each other. I mean, and these on their own, highly capable people, but their ability to come together and work as a team, wow. That is easily said, Rick, but it's hard to do.
Almost definitely, but it can be done. I mean, again, we've seen the successful integration when couples learn that it's better to be that 2-strand or 3-strand if you bring God into the relationship, but the 2 strands where you are protecting each other from the world instead of kicking each other. You're kicking the challenges and issues that are coming up. But as human beings, you're right. It's just sometimes doesn't seem like the natural thing to do, because again, we are born with the idea of self bred in us, and it's hard to overcome that concept of self. Well, this isn't what I wanted. This is you don't ever do what I'd like to do. This is
the way we've always done it. We've never done it this way. You know, our family did it this way, and that obviously was the right way. Whoo, buddy, that's dangerous. Oh, and I'll tell you another thing. Put money with that, and now you really got some fun happening, because people have been financially capable. They believe that obviously we're wealthy because we're right. And if you aren't as wealthy as we are, you're wrong. And one of the things that I would like to tell our viewers is this needs to be done before you get married. You know, you need to see if you as a couple, you have to move beyond passion, because passion's bringing you together. Passion's telling you, let's get married. Passion's saying, this is the one. No, what you really want to do is qualify and quantify who you choose as your partner. Mm-hmm. Is this person going to be a good teammate? Are we going to work together? Do our styles, do our beliefs? But people are so, I got to have it. I got to have it now. I got to get with that person. Oh, we got to go. And they lock into somebody like a tractor beam. You know, I'm going to grab that person and draw them in. And that seems real good for about 6 months to a year. Oh, but the passion's driving the relationship. But at some point, the passion is just going to wane over exposure. And when it does, do we have the skills as a couple, as a team? You know, sometimes you get in a job and you think, this is the perfect job. This is the job that's right for me. But it might be the perfect job, but not the perfect place. You know, that sometimes the place and the people on the team are just not the right combination. But if you get the right combination, again, Katie bar the door. Boy, I tell you, great things can happen. And I think you hear that over and over again. And we talked about this last week about the book Outliers and how people have been given the idea that people do it on their own. And we said, no, people don't do it on their own. That's an illusion. That's some kind of fantasy somebody spread. We can pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. That's a fantasy. That isn't how it works. When you look at successful people, they have successful people around them. You know, we were talking about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and how they surrounded themselves with successful people. And because of that, they achieved great things. And the great thing, Rick, is that's still available.
Yeah. You know, Zig Ziglar, if you're those that have studied or read his material, but his tagline was always, you know, to get the things you want, help others get the things they want.
Well, if you are focused more on their success, the better you have for your success. I love that. And I've seen that to be true. You know, who doesn't feel like, I mean, who isn't strengthened by the idea that somebody's on your side?
Right.
You know, that is a great feeling.
And part of, those that are in leadership out there and going into 2018 and the visionary side, and Roger's mentioned it many times again, that, the real leader is the one who brings in the person who probably could do a better job than he can do at his job. And he's already looking at who is going to be the next person to step into his spot. And he's not afraid of bringing in talent and helping people develop. In fact, the good leader is the one who wants those people around him to be more successful than
without a doubt.
You
and I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
The leader hires his successor.
Yeah.
Intentionally. He isn't just like, well, whoever happens to be around, I'll hire them. And boy, the more I hear it from Donald Miller or from Dave Ramsey, the number one thing they say for success has to do with who you hire on your team. Hiring is the number one concept. If people don't get hiring down, if you don't get the right people on your team, if you don't get the right person in your marriage, if you don't get the right people working together, children come up and it's monkey education, Rick. Monkey see, monkey do. When the kids are in a family of chaos, well, guess what they're going to be? They're going to be chaotic. But if they're in a family of team, they see team as an example of how their parents operate. Well, let me tell you, they're going to be team members. They're just going to fall right in the step. But too much of the time, we get into my way or the highway. Mm-hmm. And then we wonder why families are so disgruntled. It's sad. It's very sad. But, and another thing is you've got to watch for is people who say they want you to be part of their team, but they won't let you be part of the team. They're like, oh, you don't do this right. You don't do that right. Oh, man. I mean, they're constantly criticizing. They're constantly criticizing your reality. They don't want to work with you. They want you to work for them. I hate that, because what that is a predominant, subtle form of emotional abuse. Yeah. That a lot of people live with every day, very sadly. They live with people who say they want them on the team, say they want them to be a teammate, but boy, they wouldn't let them on it. They don't know what team is even about. And it's very sad how that happens. And all they do is create doubt and create pain and create questioning. It's a sad environment, without a doubt. But when you, again, have an intention, and this would be a great goal to write down, is the intention of, in 2018, intentionally, our family is going to develop a spirit of teamship. Woo-wee! That's incredible what happens then. I can remember, I guess what it brings to mind, Rick, is Clemson football. Pre-Dabo Swinney. Who were they? Well, they were a football team. How'd they do? Well, they'd kind of done a little bit, but not much. And who was Dabo Swinney? He was a nobody. Who'd ever heard of him? He wasn't a major, and he replaced one of the Bowden boys. So it's like, well, this team went from bad to worse. Things aren't going to go good. But he had a vision, and he sold that vision, and he got his crowd to buy that vision. Well, last year they were the national championships based on a vision that as a team, they could do things that a singular talent couldn't do.
Yeah, I already let Dabo know that, my grandson was born yesterday, Caden, at 11 pounds, 2 ounces.
All right.
I already notified Dabo that he's ready to sign in 2038 in the freshman class.
That's right. You might have a chance if you put if he applies now for. Ooh, that's a trend. That's a trend, man. It's hard to get in there. It's hard to get into Clemson, buddy.
Yeah, so we got that going. But you're right.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But again, you're right. I mean, he had the vision. He was very clear,
and that is available. It's not just a Dabo Swinney thing, Rick. It's an everybody thing. That's what I love about it. Who couldn't do better on a team? Who couldn't achieve more with a team? And like you said, that's biblical. You know, we're not making this stuff up.
Well,
we're not pulling this from the sky. This is in the Bible.
But it also translates into the earlier discussion we had too, is he is skilled at looking at what does he need and who, more specifically, who did he need and who does he need on that team in order to accomplish national championships. And so he would go out and find and recruit the right guys to play. And that is as much a skill set of a coach, is to know not only how to implement the plays, but who is going to be doing those plays.
And another piece of that, Rick, is it's important for the team to be right more than for the coach to be right. And that is a hard thing, because we all love being right. We all want to be the man in charge. But you're just not going to reach the level you're going to reach if you get everybody on the same sheet of music. And we talked about that last week. The power of number one, having a sheet of music, mm-hmm. and having everybody on that sheet of music. And then great things happen. You know, I like to think that's one of the reasons why we like orchestra music. You know, it's just not the one violin or the one tuba playing. It's them working together and creating a substance greater than one instrument. And that's the same thing that's available to every couple out there. And I think that's what's meant when people say they have a great marriage. What they're really saying, I hear, is we've developed a winning team. An awesome accomplishment, mm-hmm. for the couple and for the family, you know, direct family and the families that they influence.
And intentionality can be applicable to any part of the vision you want to create in your life. I'm going to give kudos to Cheryl right now, because, you know, before we went on, you were talking about, you know, eating disorders and how's that, you know, what does that do? And Cheryl, she works like a, I don't know what that means, works like a dog. My dogs don't work at all.
There's an expression, yeah. Dogs used to be working animals.
Yeah,
because that phrase came up now. Working like a dog and laying in the sun.
But yeah, she and so her vision for 2018 was she was going to start working a true clinical hour, which means a 50-minute hour in a clinician world, and get up and walk in between sessions. And she would have clients that are walking with her now. But one of her things is she's had a Fitbit for a while, and you know, Fitbit is a 10,000 step program, or she's on the 10,000 step program. And she started on January 2nd, and she has maintained 10,000 steps every day so far this year. But that's because she was intentional about it. So she
there we go.
She gets up, and again, we talked about the weather, but it's true. The very first day she went out, it was 11 degrees.
Ooh,
that takes intentionality.
Yes. Well, and Rick, what's great about that is that's life. Mm-hmm. That is true life. We would love to believe that when I'm ready to do 10,000 steps, I'm going to go out and it's going to be a balmy 70 degrees. There's not going to be any wind. The sun's going to be out. You know, it's just going to be a beautiful day. No. Cheryl got ready, went out. It was freezing. And the wind was, I remember the weather. It was nasty. You didn't want to be out. Well, you better want to be out to make it from your door to the car, but that was it.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't want any more of that, boy. Let me tell you. It was the kind of weather that smacked you in the face. So that's life. And intentionality is saying, this is not going to be comfortable. Don't matter. I'm going to get the steps in. I'm going to be tempted to fall back into the same old rut.
Right.
And I always love the idea of a rut being nothing more than a grave with two open ends. Yeah. I mean, people are living in a grave. Some people, since they've been 30 years old, they've been dead. They're not doing anything. They're not achieving. They don't have any goals. They certainly don't have any intentionality. And so they kind of, 2018, yeah, I'm not going to get through that maybe. And if I do, then it'll be 2019. And eventually I'll go see the Lord. I mean, it's like, whoa, come on now. It's not just clocking time. It's achieving and making a difference and influencing. And like you said before with Zig Ziglar, the idea of who am I? That's probably one of the things we ought to ask our viewers. Who are you helping? Mm-hmm. Who are you helping? And if you're not helping somebody, pretty hard for you to get off dead zero is what I would say. Is helping people helps you. Being there and being part of a team helps you. And being inclusive and not exclusive helps you. Makes you a better person.
Good point. And so whether 2018 is the year you're going to look for that dream job or whether it's going to be the year you're going to improve any type of relationship you're in, or whether it's going to be the year you're going to get more education. Again, the vision is great, but without the intentionality again are the actions behind it. It's going to be applying for whatever program you want to get into. If you want to get more education, it's going to be applied to those places that you want to work. Because again, those places are not going to call you up and say, we're just wondering, had you always thought you wanted to work with us?
Yeah, I heard from a person that I ought to call you and offer you a job. Hey, talk about something's never going to happen, or somebody's going to bump into you. Oh, yeah, how about this job? No, I love what you're saying. Has to be intentionality. And one of the things I want to lay out there is it's not going to be easy. Accomplishing things is not easy. I wish it was, but it's not. It's like Cheryl, you're going to wake up and it's going to be freezing outside and everything in you is going to say, I don't think so. Boy, what's better in the morning than a warm bed?
Yep.
Oh my goodness, man, let me tell you. Just laying in a warm bed, boy, that is a wonderful feeling. But if you just lay there, what do you accomplish? Mm-hmm. Nothing. At some point, you got to throw off the covers, you got to get up, and you got to get moving. And that's intentionality.
And conversely, sometimes she doesn't finish sessions till 7 either. And then there's nothing, again, being exhausted and then still getting that intentionality and motivation to say, no, I got 2,000 more steps to take. I'm tired, but I'm still going to go out there in the cold.
Right. Yes. Well, and I'm saying, Rick, that's normal. That's normal. That, I want to make my marriage perfect. Oh, but some crud comes up. We're going to work on this budget, and something out of nowhere shows up and kicks your budget. That's called life. That happens. That's hard. And, you don't get, I say all the time, they teach no class on getting your hiney kicked.
Yeah.
But you can count on, if you live long enough, you're going to have a kicked hiney. That's just the way, I hate it, but that's just the way it is. And it's people who go on, who get their hiney kicked. It's tough. Everything in them says, I want to give up. I'm tired of this. And they want to, they hate the word intentionality. I don't care what we intended. I don't care what I intended. I don't care. I'm tired of this. I give up. And that happens to so many people. And then at the end of 2018, they look up and they go, what happened? Why didn't this, come about? Why didn't magically something come down and open? No, that isn't how it works. It's like Rick says, you got to get it. You got to get the Fitbit. Number one, last time I went by a store, I did not see a Fitbit jump on my wrist. No, the people that had Fitbits are the people who bought Fitbits. For Marissa's little girl, they got her a Fitbit. And there's an intentionality to that.
Yeah.
And this is what we want you to see what you're doing. We want to encourage you. We think you're a great team member, and we want to help you help us. But first, we want to help you, and by helping you, it's going to help us. And that is a powerful, powerful statement.
And you're exactly right. You got to have the right tools sometimes, and go back to the example of I've always wanted to work at the XYZ company. LinkedIn is a great tool if you are intentional about using it. It's one thing to sign up for LinkedIn and then never log back in. But if you use something like LinkedIn and see which of your contacts are at the XYZ company or have contacts at the XYZ company, use it as a tool, because again, we know that in the world of recruiting, and Mike, I don't know if you're still on or not. I know that this is your world, but I know from when I was in corporate America, when you had somebody who was recommended to you for a job, that person was much more likely to get that job than just somebody who just sent a resume in or responded to an ad. And so, get those people to say, these are the departments that are hiring right now. And yes, I do know the manager of the department. I'd be happy to take your resume over there.
Well, and a piece of that too, Rick, is what's called hireability. Mm-hmm. There are certain people, I want to be an astronaut. Oh, you do? Well, did you go and study astrophysics? No, I just saw it on TV and thought, I want to be an astronaut. They have no intention. They have no background. They have no hireability. And so what we want to look at is if there are certain things you need to be hired, get what you need so that you have a level of hireability, and then put yourself in a position of being hired.
Yeah.
It is a process. It is not just a happenstance. And if it's a happenstance, all kinds of ugly things happen out of that. I just got here. Oh, really? Well, how's that working for you? Well, it's not. And that does not go good, But I see people that go out and, and I was thinking the other day, Rick, 100% of the kids in my high school, 100% of the kids in my high school who didn't go out for football didn't make the football team.
Yeah.
100%. See, and I'm guarantee you there was a certain percentage complained about that. I didn't make the team. Well, you didn't go out for the team. You had no intentionality to go and do what it takes to make. Well, I didn't want to sweat, and I didn't want to go out there and get hot, and I didn't want to get hit, but I want to be on the team. Okay. Yeah, okay. See, that's just not possible. You've got to look at what something costs. What does it cost to really be married? What does it cost to really work at a job? What does it cost to be part of a team? And then I need to have an internal check. Am I willing to do that? Am I willing to do what it takes to be a part of the team? And well, that's a tough question, because a lot of people come up wanting. They're not willing. They're more than glad to be on the team. They're more than willing to get the trophy,
mm-hmm.
but they're not willing to do what it takes. They don't have that intention. How many people have we told, write it down, write it down, write it down, and they go, and then you ask them the next week, did you write it down? Oh, I meant to.
Yeah.
You know?
Or I didn't have time.
It didn't fit in, you know.
Because
And people, what also amazed me is people who paid money to hear, do this before you come back and see me. And then you see them and you ask them, well, did you do that? Oh, no, we didn't do that. So you paid me money to tell you this is what needs to be done. And you, after paying money, refuse to do it. And then you say, I'm a stinky therapist. Oh, God, that hurts. That hurts to see that happen. Because you can't, you know, I think you found this out. You can't get people to get it. You know, it'd be nice if you could, but, you know, it does not matter how well you pitch a ball. If people aren't willing to catch that ball,
right.
It doesn't make any difference. You be the greatest pitcher in the world. You know, I found myself even saying, if Sigmund Freud rose from the grave and showed up here, you wouldn't listen to him. Just like you're not listening to me. You know, you gotta, you know, have people who are willing to do what needs to be done for the team to win. You gotta have that idea. Can you imagine a quarterback going out and saying, well, go run for the pass? You know, that's why we like backyard football.
Yeah.
You know, go out and I'll throw it to you. No pattern. And so your idea is you'll run around and try to get open, and maybe he'll throw it to you and you make the pass. Oh, wasn't that great? And that didn't take any effort. And that's where I hear a lot of people, oh, I wish we'd go back to backyard football. No, man, that was just, you just flinging along. That was just, you just flinging along and somebody throwing the ball at you. But a winning team has a quarterback that says, well, number one, has a coach telling them, run this play. That quarterback tells the receiver, run this play. That receiver runs that play, and the quarterback throws it where he says he's going to throw it. I love that's probably the thing I admire the most about pro ball sometimes is that the quarterback throws the ball before the person ever gets there. It's like, wait a minute. And if the person, you know, interrupts their pattern, it looks like the quarterback's just throwing it into dead air. No, that's where they were expecting the receiver to be, and if the receiver was there, they would make the play.
And I don't, you know, I don't think it's coincidental, you know, that the last two national championships have been won by miraculous, if you call it miraculous, but great catches at the very last set. Well, of course, the overtime last night, but you had a new quarterback last night, but still it was a quarterback and receiver who got the job done.
Right.
Yeah, because whether he was a new quarterback or whether the experienced quarterback, he could be thrown all day, but you're right, if he doesn't have somebody there to catch the passes, their game would never have gotten scores. And then 2016, of course, that catch at the very end with Clemson. So that's how life is won. So.
And Rick, how many passes do you think were thrown before that winning pass was thrown? Probably 200.
Well, right. Well, it's like
I mean, people feel like, oh, there's somebody go out there and throw that.
Yeah, no,
oh no.
It's going back to what you're saying. Is the quarterback knew where to throw it, the receiver knew where to be.
There it goes. And again, what I'm saying today is that's marriage. That's marriage. You know, what happens is in passion when we first meet, people throw and catch. And so they're thinking this is good. But then they get married and either the passer stops throwing it or the receiver runs a different route, and they both point the finger and blame the other one and then wonder why the team or the marriage is losing. Whoa, no. Before you say I do, make sure you're on the same sheet of music. Have an intention to it. Go over it and over it and over it and over it and know this is what we do. This is what we're about. This is what we believe. This is how we operate. You know, and that's what I see. couples that can do that stay together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where else are you going to find a passer and a receiver who connect so well? But in a great marriage, that's what it is. That's a passer and a receiver who understand each other's signals and run the same pattern over and over and over again. It's just incredible. But it seems so simple,
Mm-hmm.
but about the third or fourth time you do it, that doing it the next time doesn't seem as easy. And there comes a time when everything about you don't want to do it that way, but you're going to have intent, and you're going to do it, and you're going to do it. Like you said with Cheryl, it's cold outside, but I said I was going to do this. I have an intent. I get out. I get cold. So be it, because I'm going to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what victory looks like.
Right. And intentionality too, then we take that the next step. And intentionality also means persistence. And what I mean by that is, again, using the football analogy, if the first time it's thrown and is either not received, is intercepted, is dropped, then they don't take that play out of the playbook and say, well, we'll never do that one again.
Right.
In fact,
throw that one out.
A lot of times you'll see they go back and do the exact same play because they think the defense won't be expecting that.
Right.
And then guess what? The next time they either make great yardage or a touchdown off of it.
Right.
So
the only way you'd throw out a play is if you had tried it several times
mm-hmm.
and it didn't work, and you had run it correctly and it hadn't worked. Okay, that's learned. That's a learned behavior. But to do it one time, to throw it out at that time, at some point with that kind of mindset, you're going to run out of options.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to throw out the baby with the bathwater, and that's going to be a problem, a big problem.
So as we go, it's those that are thinking about this, who is going to be that person in your life that is going to help you maintain intentionality, help you maintain that vision, understanding that it is a challenge by yourself. Again, with Cheryl, she's, the other thing is she dogs are the ones who are kind of her coach there too. She knows dogs go with her. She likes that. The dogs like it. So what motivates you? Kim said, okay, 50% of the time, the receiver or the quarterback gets selfish. The team must move.
Yes. Ooh, wait a minute. There it is. I love that. Say that again slowly.
50% of the time, the receiver or the quarterback will get selfish.
Amen.
The team is moved.
Ooh, that will preach right there, Rick. That will preach. Boy, what is a huge negative in team, and that's selfishness. Mm-hmm. Boy, you bring selfishness in the middle of a marriage, the clock is a ticking. It's going to be like a bomb. Boom. It's going to blow up. It is not going to be pretty. So I love that. I love that. Yeah. You have got to leave selfishness, the worship of self, outside, and bring in the intentionality of being part of a team, which is about give and take. Push and pull, work together. It's what makes all the difference in the world, and what that is the intentional behavior of champions. The intentional behavior of champions.
And so, again, that brings right back to Zig Ziglar's statement, and what we're talking about is if you want to get accomplished for yourself and help others accomplish what they need, we know we're born with a selfish nature, but the neat thing about being human is we can learn to overcome that selfishness. Because again, looking at Caden yesterday and remind, he is 100% dependent on all those around him, meaning that he would not thrive if he were not selfish and let those around him know when he's hungry, when he's wet, when he's tired. but that's what life is all about. Then eventually we mature out of that, and we learn that we can start being around, and again, in relationships that are not all about us. And that's the difference between, kindergarten. You learn to share with others. You don't want to share. You don't want to, but you learn it, and hopefully this will be what life is till you get to a stage where that becomes your normal nature, is to be selfless, not selfish.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to be 100% dependent on your thriving. But again, relationships are necessary. But now it's more, how much can you give the relationship as well as take?
Right. When you were speaking, I was thinking of that book, Everything I Ever Learned, I Learned in Kindergarten.
Yeah.
I love that book. I love that book. And I think how the power of taking a nap. Oh boy, there's another one. Oh, I can remember pulling the mat out and sleeping on the mat.
Yeah. And
one time, somehow they weren't playing the game the way I wanted to, so I just rolled up my mat and walked home. I mean, it was a mile home. That didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I didn't like how they were operating that nursery at that time. I wasn't going to do what they were saying. I rolled it up, and they called my mother and said, "Hey, your son's coming home." Boy, she was waiting for me. I'm like, oh man, I thought she'd be happy with this. No, she was not happy with me at all.
And that's what kids, exactly. That's what kids say, though. At what stage do we stop rolling our mat up and going home and going away, or picking up the ball and saying, "It's my ball. I'm going to go home if you don't play."
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And so that's where we know when we're either healthy or dysfunctional in our life and in relationships. Is when we leave the ball for everybody to play with it, or we leave the mat there and participate in what the rules are at that time, and work within that. And if we don't like the rules, we learn to change in the right way.
Well, and now you're talking about the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
What's the greater good? What's the best for everybody? And it seems like the older we get, the harder that is. When you're younger, it seems you're better at, okay, what's good for everybody? I need to do what's good for everybody. And at the end, older people are like, I don't care about everybody. I want to do what I want to do. And that's all that really matters. And as long as I'm happy, then everything's wonderful. And that's so sad. Yeah. So sad.
And Kim's asking, is love of self the same as love of others? He said love of self is selfishness, not love, and love of others to grow. Actually, Kim, that's going to be a good segue into the other thing I'll brag about. Charlotte, she did a podcast recently on her specialty, eating disorders. And if you have an interest, anybody has an interest in listening to it, if you just scroll down a little bit on Southern Porch Live, just scroll down a little bit, you'll see that podcast there. But she speaks of this specifically in there. And of course, the Bible says, love others as you love yourself. And what does that mean to love yourself? That just really means, and unfortunately, we're running out of time. We've got a person coming in at 11. But
we can do this all day, folks, is what Rick's saying.
It's good because, or it's interesting because, what is love? What does it mean, love of self? That doesn't mean to be selfish, but also not to be codependent, and to learn to set boundaries that are healthy for people. We've talked about boundaries in the past.
Yes.
And we can talk about them again in the future. But where you go, Kim, I agree. When we put love of self, meaning that I am number one over others, that becomes selfish. But when we put healthy boundaries into our lives, that is not selfish. That is just showing that we are not on the road of codependency, and that we are not being abused by others, and taking care of ourselves.
Right. I mean, the important thing here is, I guess, instead of self-love, what I would say is the difference between selfishness, which is not good, and self-care, which is good.
Yeah.
I think it's important to learn and develop in yourself a caring for yourself, of taking care of yourself. But one of the things that moves you very easily into selfishness is the desire or drive to be right no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
That is the true element of selfishness, is what is it going to take for me to be right? If I'm taking care of myself, that is right. I don't need to do any more than that. But when I have to abuse others or win over others to be right, that's selfishness.
And so, maybe next Tuesday we'll pick it up there, but with the concept, we talked about critical thinking in the past, but I think this is a good time to bring that back into another discussion is, if you're a good critical thinker, then do you know when it's okay to say, maybe I have been wrong about a certain issue or perspective?
Rick, I don't think you can move forward in life without that element right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think people who can't allow themselves to be wrong are not self-caring people.
Not at all.
They're dangerous people. It takes a real commitment to be open to the idea, I might be wrong. Mm-hmm. There might be someone with a better opinion. And I know you have, through teaching school and the things you do, seen people who absolutely can't be wrong. Those are scary people. I mean, I try to keep my distance from people. If they want to be right, my attitude is good. Be right. Right. Oh, good. If you think right is so oversold and people are so ugly to each other in the name of being right. It's very sad. Very sad.
Well, so that's probably the direction we'll head next Tuesday at 10 o'clock as we get back on the porch. And again, we encourage anyone who watches this after it's live, and that's really,
share it.
Share it. Also, that would help us out a lot too.
Share the site.
But most of our views are after this hour here, and so we're still looking for comments and questions, and we will then pick this up Tuesday, 10 a.m. next week.
Yeah, we don't want to give anybody the idea that we're satisfied with where the porch is. We're looking to improve, and how we improve is with the team, and you're part of the team, and who you share this with is part of the team. So we encourage that, and we encourage your feedback. And we take it to heart, and it helps us produce a better product.
So we'll see you guys next week. And I have to get up on this one, people, to get us off using another computer.
Technology at work.